Hello, hello.
Hey.
Welcome to another episode of Word Slingers. Today's special guest is Cal Jameson.
Hi, everybody.
Yeah, so it's good to actually talk to you in person now or via the
Yeah,
internet. Yeah, yeah,
yeah. I'm with you, man. I think this is cool.
yeah. So this is Word Slingers where we talk about writing. And I know you're a writer, so I really want to get into how you approach writing comic books and what your method is. But tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got started writing.
Yeah. Well, I kind of, I think like a lot of guys around my age, I really dug like '90s Image comics. I wasn't really into comics before that, but I would go to the comic shop for D&D books and Riffs books and stuff. So I played a lot of tabletop RPGs back in the day. And I remember walking past the comic stand and I saw Spawn, and I was like, oh, okay, that's something that calls out to me. And I picked up Spawn, I started collecting, and then I was just getting almost every title for a while. And um and I thought, man, I want to be like a guy who makes these things. And so, back then Wizard
Yeah,
magazine would have Greg Capullo would do like drawing tutorial and stuff in there. And I just I just ate that stuff up. So I would learn nothing really, but I would just like try to draw what he drew, and
right.
then that's it. Like I wouldn't practice. I would just and so I wanted to be a comic book, everything, like, because Todd McFarlane would write and draw. I wanted to do that, but I didn't have the patience to learn to draw. So it kind of just like, it fell off my purview, and I got into music, and I didn't really understand writing back then either. So yeah, the whole thing just kind of left my mind, and I became a musician, got into doing ministry, and so I've been a worship pastor for over 20 years. But then several years ago, I thought, man, I really want to get in touch with the creator in me, and that's when like Comicsgate was happening. Just I think probably a year or two after I kind of got back into writing and actually learned how to write, um, CG started kind of cropping up, and yeah, I thought, man, because I wanted to write screenplays, wanted like to be a Hollywood
Yeah,
writer. Then I realized really quickly that was kind of like a pipe dream, and then I see all these, these people kind of just doing their own thing on the internet, and I'm like, yeah, I could probably do that. And yeah, that's how I got to where I am today, pretty much as a writer.
that's awesome. Yeah, I remember those old Wizard magazines, Brutes and Babes. It was like that drawing section
Uh
that
huh.
Bart Sears would do, and yeah, I always look forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good stuff.
Yeah, awesome memories. I
Yep.
miss Wizard magazine. I wish we had something like that today, but
Me too.
yeah, they just made it so much fun.
Yeah. We should.
Yeah,
I mean, we should get something going. Like, so I don't know who, but like some of us who want to have that back. And I
yeah,
mean, we're not the only ones who'd love to see that come back. We've got some awesome talent within, even underneath the big guys. Like, even if you don't get to the EVS level, like there's a lot of really, really talented artists and writers that are,
yeah. There are.
kind of more in the lower and mid tiers. So I think we could pull that off, but it would take organization and time and people dedicating time and talent to get it off the ground. But I don't know. I think it's worth it, man.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It's hard to recapture something nostalgic like that. Like
That's true. That's true.
it's one of those things where you long for it, but I don't know if we could ever really have it back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about your first script. Like, what was the first comic you wrote?
Yeah. Well, so like I said, I was really trying to get into screenwriting, and so I joined an online community called Talentville for I don't know if you've heard of Comics Experience, but they do. So a guy named Andy Schmidt, who is an editor
Oh
for
yeah.
Marvel, DC, he started it years and years ago as an online kind of a peer review community for comic creators. It's a paid thing. Before I knew about that, I did the same thing but for screenwriting, and there would be industry professionals that would kind of hang around on the forum, and if you wrote a really good script, you could potentially um, get contacted and maybe even get it optioned and stuff. There was contests and things. So I was doing that. I got disillusioned there because they actually, yeah, I won't go into that, but there's some shenanigans that was going on. So I'm like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna work. And then a buddy of mine who's an artist, and he and I started talking about like, hey, let's do comics again. He was my friend back in the '90s. We met at a comic shop, and so we decided let's do comics again. And so we started kind of developing a an IP called the Devil's Corner, which started out as um, it started out kind of as I think we were going to do it as like a YouTube. We had no idea what we wanted to do, man. We were just like we just wanted to create. So we were like we could do like short film type things on YouTube, like 10-minute long. And it was about these two paranormal investigators, and one of them you'd find out partway through was actually a ghost.
Oh,
And
cool.
so there was like I mean, it's derivative, it's Sixth Sense, it's like, oh, but it was fun for us. And so
Yeah.
it was like two best buds, and one was an atheist and a skeptic, and the other one was not. But the ghost is the one who was the skeptic and the atheist. Like
Mm,
and there was kind of a weird little twist. And so when we decided it was just too much work to film things, and we had no idea how to even do that,
yeah.
we just started developing that into comic script. And so that was probably, I think that was probably the first like actual comic um, script that I wrote, and it was atrocious. Like we when I got onto Andy Schmidt's site, Comics Experience, um, no one would review it. I would do like critique other people's scripts, and like technically when you do that, people are supposed to come back and critique yours, and no one would touch it. And so finally, I'm on the forum, and I'm like, well, somebody just tell me it's awful. That's fine. Like just
Right.
something. And so this kind soul said, "Okay, man, I'll do it. I'll be the one." And he just tore it apart kindly as he could, start to finish. How all the reasons why it was really bad. And so instead of crying and walking away and saying screw this, I said, no, I'm gonna make this into a good script. And over the course of probably 3 or 4 interactions with him, I kept I took one script and I think I made it into 3 because it was just it was overburdened. I think
Mm.
I had a full like 3 or 4 issue arc in
Oh,
one
wow.
issue, just everything crammed into one. And so he would come back and critique me, and then I would fix, and then um, within a couple of 2-3 months, I had people saying, "Wow, you you actually went from the worst writer on here to one of the better writers on here."
That's
Um,
awesome.
well, and it's I can't take any credit. The only credit I can take is that I understood I was awful. Like that's where you have to start sometimes. You really have to be able to take criticism, and even the stuff that's mean spirited, there's good in there. They say
Right.
chew the meat, spit out the bones. And so I thought I adopted a mindset of I'm gonna chew the bones too. I'm just gonna take all of it, because even the stuff that's bad probably comes from a place of truth.
Mm,
There's probably some nugget of like, okay, this person's being mean spirited about this one comment, but what's true in there?
right.
And so yeah, so I took that and I just ran with it. And hopefully I'm just as just as leadable today as I was then. I don't know. Yeah.
So once you gained some experience, what's the next script you worked on? What's
Um, So I wrote a bunch. Actually, I wrote a bunch of scripts for that IP that are being repurposed now into the Days of Noah universe, which we can talk
okay?
about later. But so I wrote, yeah, I wrote probably um, 3 or 4 story arcs for that. I just kept revising and revising. And then when I moved to something new, it was also in that universe, and I think it was what people on Twitter might know as the Penance of Nash,
Hmm.
which is kind of my retelling of Hercules' story, his the 12 labors of Hercules. It wasn't that at the start. It was just this cool giant biker dude who's part demon, and then he, as everything as I develop the world more and more, it becomes less of a joke and more of like a real thing. You know, I get to
Yeah.
know the characters in the world, and so that was the beginning of what would be the Penance of Nash. We just called it Nash back then. Um, yeah, and that's another one where I've written 5 or 6 scripts for that. The Labors of Hercules, I've gotten probably 3 or 4 of them written, and then the rest outlined. And I'm pretty good about outlining before I write. So there's a lot of stuff that's not written, but it's outlined and it's almost as good as written. When I need to write it, it'll be ready to go.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, talking about outlining, like what's your approach, like from the start, like when you get your once you have your idea, because that's where every story starts, right? You've got this
Yeah.
idea, like how do you germinate that into a story?
Um, I think that I'm not super dogmatic. You know, when I first started learning all the rules of writing, I was really dogmatic and really like by the book, like save the cat by the book, like the beat sheet and
Right.
everything. And now I kind of just try and figure out, since most of the stuff I write is horror or horror related. I use the myth method of, it's a screenwriting method, but if you can use it in anything, and it stands for Monster in the House, MITH, and that formula, everything's formulaic. So you know, if anyone watching
Yeah.
going, oh, what a new writers, oh, I'm not going to go formulaic. No, you're gonna, unless you're just a prodigy, you're gonna
Yeah.
use some kind of formula, or else it's going to be unreadable gibberish. Well, at least when you start, once you get the rules and you get them memorized, then you can move on from that, and you already kind of know, you know, in the back of your head, you know where the story needs to go, you know where it needs to take the different turns. But yeah, when I started, I was like super dogmatic. Now I kind of just, I'll pick one of the starting points, and so a lot of times it's the character. Like, okay, who is the character, and I'll start developing that character. I'm a real character driven writer. Like
Mm.
um, I really can fall in love with, you know, with the different characters, and they become real to me. And so a lot of times it will be a character. Like with Nash, it was a character. With
Yeah.
the Devil's Corner guys, it was that those 2 friends, 2 best buds. A lot of my stories feature 2 best friends. They say what write what you know.
Yeah.
um, but then from there, I'll start working up a really loose outline, and it'll basically just be the beginning and end of the story, and then the conflict. And so, if you know where your story starts and where you want it to end, and then you know what the main conflict is, you basically have your story. You know, you just kind of get to fill in the blanks from there. And so, yeah, I mean, kind of boiled down to its basic elements. That's kind of what I do. Um,
Yeah.
and then I start building on the basic points, and I will, you know, I'll kind of reference in my mind the beat sheets, you know, like what's the inciting incident, what's the moment that makes this character stop what they're doing and start in a new thing, which is your
Right.
story that you're telling. um you know, there's usually a phase of learning and building a team kind of in a story, so I try and work that in, like where, you know, what kind of knowledge is the character gaining, what tools are they picking up, what are they putting a crew together, stuff like that, you know. And then there's the midpoint stuff. There's the dark night of the soul, you know, where your character feels all is lost, but then something they learned in that first half comes back to mind, or somebody from that team shows up, you know. And so yeah, I mean, it's kind of, I think we're pulling the curtain back a little bit
Yeah. No,
on
this
what,
is all good stuff, man.
how the sausage is made, but yeah.
Right. No, you're right. Like there's that moral imperative, that one thing that they need to learn
Hmm.
to progress, and
Right.
it doesn't just help them grow internally, but it helps them with the external events that are happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's in, when you mention the word external, that's another thing too. Like, you know, any new writers or people, you know, if you want to become a writer, there's 2 kinds of conflict. There's internal and external, and it's really important to have both of those if you want to tell a compelling story. Yeah, the external stuff is kind of really easy to
Right.
spot, because that's kind of the main thing when we're watching. But a lot of times there's something internal. You know, there's an internal change your character needs to make. They need to conquer some demon, and that maybe not as quite on the surface, but to really paint compelling characters, really think about that. What's going on inside
Right.
as they're tackling that external stuff.
Well, that's awesome, man. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
So with this new story that you're writing, is it the Days of Noah in the Days of
Yeah.
Noah or
Yeah. Days of Noah or
Days of
date.
Noah?
I don't know if there's a the yet, but either
Okay.
way.
uh, so tell us about that.
Yeah. So Days of Noah is, I think it might have come out of one of our pitch sessions on Breaking Rad. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
A lot of the stuff that I ended up working on was like once I topped that pitch on. And by the way, like if you writers out there, if you if you're like starving for ideas, um, come on top Breaking Rad and play top that, and we'll help you to come up with a pitch. A pitch is a great way to start a story, by the way. Like you come up with you give yourself a few prompts and then write a pitch out of that, and then the story will just kind of flow. And so Days of Noah, I think, was me, whether it was on the show or not, I think it was me just trying to write something that was Christian, but also had the stuff that I like. Like, I mean, I like Christianity. Don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
like, I'm a worship pastor. I'm a avid self studier. Theology and apologetics and all that stuff. And I wanted to write something that had all the spiritual side stuff that I really enjoy, but also um, and portrayed like Christians as real people.
Right.
In Hollywood there are kind of two kinds of Christians in on screen, and one is deeply flawed, but like almost irredeemably so. Like look at Angela from The Office. She's kind of a Christian
Right.
character that comes to mind, and she's just awful. She's the worst. She's
Right.
super judgmental, but she's also hypocritical. She judges people for stuff that's nowhere near as bad as what she does. There's that kind, but then there's like the people who can do no wrong. They're just like they're the pastor or the priest that
Yeah.
someone goes to for advice, and they're just perfect and they make no
Right.
mistakes. So I wanted to write a story that has like believable, like this is what real people look like with faith. But then I wanted there to be like the whole monster hunting. Like I love Supernatural, I love X-Files, all those kinds of like monster hunting and monster of the week type stories. I love that stuff. And I love H.P. Lovecraft. I'm one of the weird people that actually read Lovecraft.
Yeah.
And I love that, like, um, that tone. Like I like horror in my comedy, which is weird because that's nothing like you don't really see a lot of horror in Lovecraft.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I wanted to try and somehow meld them all together, and so that's what Days of Noah kind of ended up being, that um, a kitchen sink approach to to writing. Hopefully, it's good. I think that at the very least, I'm gonna find a couple of dozen Christians out there who are just like me that are like, oh, I love Lovecraft and I watch
Yeah.
Supernatural, and
I'm
I
right
kind
here,
of,
man.
yeah, I grit my teeth through the angel stuff and when they start tackling biblical themes, and you're like,
Yeah.
that's not. You get through a couple seasons and then it's good again, and then it comes back. So anyway, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm doing with that. And Noah is, so it's called Days of Noah because it's portraying the end times, or the time before the end times.
Mhm.
Um, Jesus said, like, when that time comes, it'll be like the days of Noah.
Right.
And I'm one of the Genesis 6 paradigm people, where I'm, Nephilim and all that stuff. And so that's really heavily in my mythos. I don't want to pull back the curtain too far on what, how that actually plays in, because as you read the comic, it'll become more and more apparent how those things factor in. But um, yeah. So, but it's not just the prophetic aspect, but the character is also named Noah. I just thought, why not? Let's just call him Noah.
Yeah.
These are his days, and he's a guy who was raised in like a really strict fundamentalist Christian family, but like doomsday prepper. Um,
Mm.
and out here in the Phoenix, uh, one of the more wildernessy areas around here, and he kind of gets to that college age and realizes the apocalypse hasn't happened. I haven't seen anything spiritual like that's convincing, and so the faith of his parents kind of just gets lost, and he decides to take off and just do his own thing, and he drives west out to California, and he stops in a town called Devil's Corner, which is, so my original comic, that was what it was called, the Devil's Corner. I realized along the way I didn't want to like glorify the devil in the title, and so that's still the name of the town, because it's based on it's the fictional town based on uh, a real North San Diego County town called Escondido. Back in the day, like back in the Western times, it was actually part of a land deed called Rincon del Diablo, which means the Devil's Corner. So I just kind of fictionalized that town to be like this weird, quirky town where supernatural stuff is normal. Um, so he gets out there and he meets a girl who is from the same kind of family, but instead of being doomsday preppers, they are monster hunters. And so he kind of starts rediscovering his faith, the faith of his parents, but through the lens of these supernatural things that he's encountering, going, "Oh wow, there is supernatural, but it's not what my parents told me about." It's
Right.
like supernatural evil, and he realizes along the way, wow, if there's evil and it's supernatural, then there has to be good.
Right.
And so he kind of comes to that realization that apologists will talk about nowadays, that evil can't exist without good. Evil is like cancer or like rust. You can take the you can Frank Turek talks about that. Like you can take all the rust out of a Pinto and you still have a Pinto, but you're a car. But you take all the car out of the rust and you have nothing. You can take
Right.
all the cancer out of a person, you still have a person. But if you take all the person out, there's nothing left, because
Yeah.
cancer feeds on humanity, or on life. So anyway, so that's kind of the Noah's journey in a nutshell. That's just in the first arc where and then after that, he'll still have struggles and everything, but he kind of rediscovers his faith pretty fast. That's kind of where I wanted to go with it.
Well, that's really cool. I noticed a lot from the artwork. There's a huge influence from Lovecraft. Is that how did you find Lovecraft, and what are your
Yeah,
thoughts on it, especially as a Christian, like reading something that's very nihilistic and
yeah,
just no hope in his work,
right. Yeah, and I think people even have been skeptical, like, well, you can't really do cosmic horror within a Christian framework because um,
Well, August
cosmic horror
Derleth
isn't
did it though.
right. Oh yeah.
August, yeah, he was a Christian.
Oh, was he? I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
Okay. That's cool. Now he was he's just part he's contributed to the mythos, right?
yeah.
Like after Lovecraft.
Yeah, I want to say he worked with Lovecraft while he was still alive and kind of took over the publishing.
Okay.
Yeah.
What are some of the things he's done?
Oh,
I mean, I could look it up after, but
yeah,
I'm just
it's
curious.
hard to say because I love Lovecraft. I love the universe, but their
Yeah.
titles are so similar to each other.
Oh, right,
It's
right.
hard to separate who did what, because
Yeah.
you got Lovecraft, you got Derleth, you've got Robert Bloch, who also wrote a few stories.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, and then like I know Ambrose Bierce is one that was like that influenced Lovecraft and like later writers, because he did like Hate to the Shepherd and uh, something in Carcosa. He did the first work about Carcosa,
That
which
was
ended up being,
Chambers, wasn't it? Robert
was it
Chambers.
Chambers?
Robert
Well,
Chambers
Chambers,
wrote The
yeah,
King in
Chambers went
Yellow.
on and did The King in Yellow. So
Yeah.
Chambers and Lovecraft were both influenced by Bierce,
Okay.
who didn't. I don't think he wrote necessarily cosmic horror, but they were influenced by his um, just the I guess just the mythology he was building.
Yeah.
Like if you go back to the first mention of the King in Yellow and like Hate to the Shepherd, it's like not cosmic horror at all. Carcosa is a little bit more poetic than it is like a you know a desolate you know dead kingdom where Pastor live, or exists, or whatever. It's
Yeah.
interesting how this stuff all kind of comes together. But anyway, to your point, your question, um, I found Lovecraft probably I don't even know. Like you start seeing these tentacle monsters, and you're like, oh, that's cool. What's that? Probably Hellboy introduced me to
Yeah,
Lovecraft. Uh, yeah, actually, that is definitely where I found Lovecraft, because I remember reading the first the first story, which I mean everyone's really familiar with the frog people and all that stuff.
Shadow over
And not
Innsmouth. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean the Hellboy
Oh,
stuff
okay.
where he, but it draws on like yeah, it draws on the Innsmouth stuff where the people kind of become more and more like fish or amphibian like. They get
Okay.
that Innsmouth look. Um, and but not realizing what the influence was. And then years later, I would read it and go, oh, that's Lovecraft. You know, he's
Yeah.
like Mike Mignola is literally just rewriting Lovecraft. Um, and I mean, I'm definitely standing on the shoulders of Mignola with what I'm doing, because he's a man of faith. You know, I mean, I think he's Catholic, but he's like he believes in God and everything. And and he writes in a way where, I mean, definitely Hellboy ends up does is pretty nihilistic, because you know like the world does end, and you know giant monsters do take over. But but yeah, so I think that for me, the Lovecraft being in a Christian universe, or just I guess more generally put, cosmic horror. Um, it's less about like the inevitability of defeat, or the inevitability of being conquered by these, you know, unthinkable creatures, or like, you know, in the case of Azathoth, just like ceasing to exist when he wakes up.
Right.
Um, it's for me, cosmic horror is less about the inevitability of destruction and more about like the inability of the human to comprehend, on the level of the beings that they're experiencing. And so when you take like angels in the Bible, you know, and you look at these wheels covered in eyes, and
Yeah.
these creatures with four faces and six wings, and like you start to realize there's cosmic horror already like in the Bible. Like there's like, I mean, horror, we I think we just kind of innately you know, connect it with evil, but something can be horrific and not evil. You know,
Right.
something can induce great fear in you, without actually being evil. I think that the when you look at whenever someone encounters an angel in the Bible, like if they're not in the form of a human, sometimes they take the form of humans, but when they're still in some kind of angelic form, like people fall on their faces. They're just like, whoa,
Yeah.
you know. And I think the reason they don't go crazy, as in like cosmic horror, is because there's an element of good there. Like the angels are innately good, and they don't want people. They don't want to create like madness, you know. Um,
Right.
and so, but in my thinking, it's like, okay, you take those angels and you make them fallen. You remove all of all of the good out of them, their good intentions, and now they're just um, these innately nihilistic beings. They know that their end is coming. They know that it's
Right.
permanent, um, and they want to destroy and terrify, and create madness within humanity. And so in Days of Noah, that's your cosmic horror, are those fallen beings who are just bent on doing as much damage to humanity as they possibly can, creating cults like the cult of Dagon and Cthulhu and all these things. But really, it's just what we already believe as Christians. You know, we already believe in a spiritual realm of unthinkably powerful beings. It's just now we're kind of portraying them through the Lovecraftian lens. So anyway, that's kind of a long explanation, but that's kind of where I am with Lovecraft and Days of Noah.
Oh, it's really cool. It's really interesting. And like you were talking about the angels, a lot of times when they first appear to people, the first thing they say is "Fear not."
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
because they must have realized like I look like a freak to these people.
right. That's a good point. I didn't even think of that, but they have to like tell them, no, 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 you don't
Right.
have to be afraid. Like what if Cthulhu said that? You know, what if what if he comes up out of the water and you start freaking out? And he goes, oh, no, 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 don't be afraid. I mean, I think I still would be, but
It's like Mars attacks. You know, we're
yeah,
here for your safety. Like, don't worry, don't
right.
run. No, that's awesome. What advice would you give to any aspiring writers?
Um, I mean, the best advice, honestly, the best advice I could possibly give. Um, well, I'll make a statement and then I'll give some advice. The statement is anyone can tell a good story. Like it's yes, there's a talent and it helps you tremendously, just as with anything. Anyone can learn to play guitar. Not everyone's going to be Steve Vai or Stevie Ray Vaughan or Eddie Van Halen, but everyone can learn to play it to the point where they can entertain someone, where they can bring joy into someone's life. Same thing with writing. Anybody can learn to tell a story well. Um, but there are steps. If you're not already talented, if God didn't put it in you to be just instantly a good writer, you have to write really bad stuff at first. So don't. So my advice is don't think the first thing you write is genius. It's not. It's almost certainly one of the worst things ever written. Mine mine was, and I'm not a great writer. I'm a good writer. I don't think I'm necessarily like overtly talented. I think that I just really had a drive to tell good stories and tell them well. And so realize that the first several things you write are probably going to be really bad, but you can redeem them. You can make them better, but you need to be able to take criticism. So that's my advice. Learn to take criticism. Get thick skin. If you can't take criticism, you're probably just never going to tell a good story well. Um,
Yeah,
and yeah, some of it's mean spirited and it sucks. And if you want to ignore that mean spirited stuff at first, until your skin is really like rhino like, um, just take the advice from friends and family, but find some people who are going to be honest with you, because it's really easy to give a comic script to your mom and have her give it back and say this is the best thing anyone's ever written.
right.
Your mom just wants you to feel good. She's going to feel proud of you no matter what you do. Your dad, your best friend. My writing partner and artist for a long time. He was also my biggest fan as a writer, and I was his biggest fan as an artist. So like we could see no wrong in what each other did, and so
Yeah,
um, that's why when I finally got onto a forum with other actual writers, I realized how woefully inadequate my writing was. Because all he did is tell me, "Oh, that's great, dude. That's awesome." So find people who are going to be honest with you, and the way you can tell is that they're going to read it and they're going to give it back to you and say, it's they're gonna in some way indicate to you it wasn't perfect. If
right.
everything you do is perfect to somebody, you're not going to the right people for advice. So there's my advice in a nutshell. There's lots more, but that's the most important, I think, for new writers. Realize you're not writing great with your first stuff and take criticism.
That's good. That's really good. Good advice.
Thanks.
Yeah. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you want to bring up that you want to share?
um well, I can give I mean some other, I guess, just kind of like trial and error advice from someone who's been doing it for a while. If you want to learn how to create worlds and develop characters, get into tabletop role playing,
Hmm,
like whether it's D&D, Rifts, or something that's more rules light. Lovecraft. There's some Lovecraft RPGs out there, and don't use modules. Create the adventures yourself. And the reason I'm saying that is because when when I got back into RPGs like several years ago, I think to amend what I said earlier, I think I started getting back into writing a little over 10 years ago. I said a few, but it was before I met my wife, and that was like 12 years ago. So it's been a while. But several years into that, I got back into tabletop RPGs, and I realized that I would sit for hours just writing about the world. I was doing it today because I'm creating a world for a D&D campaign
hmm,
that is. I didn't want to just use the world of Faerun from the Forgotten Realms world. I wanted to create something new, but still using all the stuff, but like in a world that I can create as I go. And what I realized was that it helped me to learn how to create worlds for any kind of story. If you want to tell a superhero story, or a noir murder mystery story, uh, creating those worlds and developing those characters will come a lot more naturally if you're doing exercises like you will just kind of you'll just naturally do it when you're creating an adventure for a tabletop. So if that's something you're into, like if you don't if you know if you think of, so a lot of people are like, I would never ever do that. I've talked to people and they're like, "Sorry, no. Would you ever want to play? No, that's stupid." That's fine. If you don't want to, that's fine. But if you already have, like if you've played D&D or something in the past, I would say, get a group of friends together and be like, "Hey, we guys play, guys play uh, through a world that I create." And um, yeah, I don't know. I feel like for me, it's been the most helpful tool in learning how to develop characters and create worlds, and that feel lived in, And so
Right.
now when I'm writing a story, like I know who owns that liquor store, down the street from where the main character works or whatever, like I know those characters, and they all matter to me, and makes it easier to like avoid things like killing off characters, just for the shock value, because now you like them. Like there has to be a reason to kill them off. And yeah, so I mean, I don't know, it's kind of a weird tip, but I guarantee if you try it, you'll see the benefit. um, and that's all I can think of at the moment. I haven't been drinking coffee or caffeine at all, and today
Yeah.
I tried to have a small or medium coffee, and I have the jitters. My brain is like moving way too fast, and I can't think straight. So any regular day, I could probably come up with a few more a
No,
few
you're
more
fine.
things, but
Yeah.
yeah, I got the jitters like crazy.
Well, that's cool. It's interesting you say that about doing tabletop games because I have a friend who's a writer, and that's what he does. He loves to game
Mm.
master, and he also likes to. He also wrote for a wrestling group here in Oklahoma, where I'm at.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so he wrote like the storylines for all these wrestlers for a while, and
Wow, that's awesome.
he just recently let that go and wants to get back into comic book writing.
Oh man, that's really cool. Um, it's funny again. Funny that I mentioned that. Now you mentioned it. We were just 6 a.m. Comics and I were talking the other day about wrestling and how he is like, the only good era in wrestling was like the Hulkamania era of wrestling, and he's like, I don't care if anyone says about the Attitude Era, it wasn't, it kind of ruined wrestling. And I'm like, well, dude, that's all I know. Like when I was a kid, I wasn't really into wrestling. Like I thought Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, I thought they were cool, and I had the rubber figures and stuff, but I didn't really watch it. Like I wasn't a fan. And
Yeah,
but when I was during the Attitude Era, the Rock and Triple H and all those guys, that's when I like tuned into wrestling. And so to me, I love that era. But we were talking about how like nowadays the storylines just totally suck, and Mark was like, man, I wish I could take the helm of WWE and I'd bring it back to the heyday instantly. And I thought, man, that would be really cool. And like, why not do a comic? Why not just do that, but in a comic book form?
right.
You
Yeah,
know, maybe that's something your buddy could do, is like, go back to that Hulkamania era and create those characters and those storylines. But you can do whatever you want with it. You can
right.
like, did you read Do a Power Bomb?
No, I never did.
So you got to read Do a Power Bomb. It's I forget the name of the guy who did it. All the Breaking Rad guys love it, and so I read it. The Daniel Warren something
That sounds familiar. Yeah,
Johnson Daniel.
I think you're right. I think it is Dan Warren Johnson.
Anyway,
Yeah,
it's great. He writes it and draws it. He's like the guy, and it's just this awesome story that like it starts out as one thing, and then all of a sudden it's like way off the rails, goes into the supernatural, and just gets crazy. Um, and the ending is like potentially sacrilegious, but I don't think so. So after if you definitely read it, uh, and when you're done, let's have a talk, because
All right.
I have some thoughts about why it's not sacrilegious. And if it is, it's mildly. I don't think it's super bad. But my point in saying that is, he got to do what I'm talking about. He got to create these wrestlers with their own personalities and backstories. They get the kayfabe is real though. Like it's all
Mm.
they're real. It's real drama. And the basic premise is there's a wrestling match that takes place in an alternate dimension that whoever wins can bring one person back to life.
Oh
And the
wow.
guy who's running the competition is a necromancer. So he's
Mm.
he's like, I'll bring one person back. So every single tag team, and it's all tag teams, they all have somebody, whether it's one person or two people, that there's one tag team that they have two different people they want to bring back to life. And so when if they win, they end up having to fight each other to make that person, and
Wow.
whoever lives, they get the person, and whoever dies. Um, but that's a premise. And so it's wrestlers from all across the multiverse. And so there's wrestlers who aren't human, and yeah, it's really cool. And so I would love to do something like that. Maybe your buddy
Yeah.
can take a cue from Daniel Warren Johnson and and do something awesome. You should tell him, because I would love to, whatever it is, I'd love to read it.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. Is that a graphic novel or is it like a mini series?
Yeah, it was a mini series. You can get the trade now. I'm gonna look up how many parts there are. Do a power. I read it. I read the whole series really fast, like in a day or two, because it was
Oh
just
wow.
so good. Um, but it's a short one. It's you can get the trade for 20 bucks on Kindle, or
Okay.
$21 paperback. So it's probably a standard like 50-ish page. I'm trying to see how many pages there are. The bottom line is it's short. You can get through. Oh, I'm sorry. That's 168 pages. So I guess it was
Okay.
2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Wow, I read that really fast, dude. There's 7 issues.
7 issues. Okay.
But get the trade, because it's
Yeah.
only 20 bucks.
Yeah. I'll have to look for it. That
uh,
sounds interesting.
yeah, it's good. You'll like it.
Nice.
It's a Cal guarantee.
All right. Anything else you want to share?
um, no more words of wisdom at the moment. Just create stuff, guys. Just um, something that kind of comes to my mind a lot is like, I don't know about you, but I really like alliteration in my thinking.
Mm.
And when it comes to what we do, we read comics, we watch movies, we play video games, but we also want to create. And so like, kind of the rule I have for myself, and I break it all the time, especially when games come out that I love. Like,
Yeah.
I'm playing a game called Lords of the Fallen now. It's like a Souls like, and it's super fun. Eats a lot of my time, but the rule I try to live by is create more than you consume.
Mm.
Like, our society we live in now. This. Everyone watching knows this. We're a consumeristic society. We want
Yeah.
to enjoy things, but the more things there are to enjoy, the less time we have to create things others can enjoy. So
Right.
choose to be somebody who creates those things. And I think that CG has been is wherever the state it's in right now, which is neither here nor there at the moment. The values that kind of came, that were the foundation at the beginning, were like, no, we're not going to do the Gamergate thing where we just criticize. There's another C. The alliteration just comes. So you can consume, create, criticize. I try to land on that creating.
Mm.
And so that on Breaking Rad, we kind of have that same mentality where we try not to like criticize too much. We're
Right.
not a drama channel. We want to have fun. We want to create. Even in doing a stream, we're just trying to like play games and do things that make people happy.
Yeah.
Almost no one watches or knows about our channel, but
know that you're entertaining me at least.
All right, we got one guy in chat. Ben's there most of the time.
That's right.
But yeah, so try. I mean, A rule for life, if you can try and live by it, is try to create more than you consume, more than you
Right.
criticize. The world would be a better place if we all did that. I mean, yeah, there'd be less time to consume the things that everyone's creating because you're all creating. So I know it's a whole cycle, but like being a good creator involves consuming. Like you have to read to know what good stories
Yeah.
look like.
Right.
You want to be a game, you want to make video games, you got to play video games to know what a good video game plays like. And so there's a certain amount of consumerism and even criticism that goes into being a good creator. You consume something, you criticize what's bad about it in a positive way, and then you go on to create something that's superior because you were able to consume and criticize to whatever the degree is that is necessary.
Right.
And yeah, so uh, that's the rule I try to live by. I hope some of you out there too to
No,
find a
that's
better place of zen in life.
right. No, that's really good. I like that. Consume, critique, create. I like that.
Yeah, I maybe go a little heavy on the.
On the
Another
create.
tip is don't go too heavy. Well, don't go too heavy on the alliteration. Like I
Right.
just for some reason my brain, maybe it's because my training in ministry, like pastors always have the 3 points that
Right.
have the same. Maybe it's that, but like I don't know. It feels like God created us and language with kind of a tendency towards the alliteration just comes really easily. Like when people ask me, like we didn't talk about this, but when people ask me what is my writing like, or like how what's my um genre or mood or whatever, like I always try to write with um there's three H's: horror, humor, heart. So, I don't know. It's just like I want stories that contain horror, that contain things that kind of scare you, but hopefully there's like a lesson in it somewhere.
Right.
Humor. I want there to be something light, unlike and when you read Lovecraft, there's nothing light. It's all very dark. I want there to be something that kind of reminds you it's okay to laugh even in dark situations. And then heart. I want there to be a connection with the characters and with the world. And maybe you guys can take that too. There's another quick tip: horror, humor, heart. It's really
Very good.
easy with me because I always have the alliteration.
Well, that's really good. I like that. You need to design T-shirts and just have those alliteration like
Yeah,
words on there.
I probably should I can make $20 or something.
Yeah.
Just the
There you
one
go.
person that I'll tell you, no one buys merch, man. Like when Shinobi Sasquatch, when we first launched, um, we like we did $85,000 over the course of a few months, and for a team that no one who knew who we were,
Mhm.
that was really good. But then I'm like, oh, I can get some more money out of these people now. I just thought, people might like they backed the book. Maybe they want to like get a T-shirt or something. And like we started a Redbubble store, and no one, Rob and I were the only people that bought anything. And I think 7 of 9 bought like a tank top, or somebody bought a tank top. Um, but that's it. Don't spend a lot of time creating merchandise.
Yeah.
But that the alliteration shirt I think is a great idea. I'm gonna do that
Yep. Or
maybe.
coffee mug. Yeah. Coffee mug with.
Or a coffee mug. Yeah, that might
Hey.
be better. Yeah. So how about you, man? I mean, all I know about you is a little bit I see on Twitter, and when you
Yeah.
come into the chat. But you're a writer, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm a writer, artist. I self-publish comics
Okay. I
called
gotta look into
Halloween.
your stuff more.
Yeah. Halloween Head Comics.
What is it called?
Halloween Head Comics.
Oh, nice. That's right up
Yeah.
my alley, man.
Yeah.
I should check you out more on Twitter. I apologize that I haven't
No, you're fine.
beforehand, but I will. But I will.
I am nobody. Don't worry about it.
We're all nobodies, man. We're all we're all nobodies trying to do something that people enjoy, right?
That's
Trying to
right.
create
Yeah.
indie comic art. Oh, and you're an artist too.
Yeah.
Oh, dude. Is your what do they call that image? Not the thumbnail, not the avatar, but the other one, the background. Is that you? Did you do that?
Yeah. My brother drew that, and I colored it. I'm a colorist.
Okay, cool. I
Yeah.
like that. Ah, that's good, man.
Oh yeah,
So
there's
what are
about.
you working on? I know this is your interviewing me, but like I'm curious, what are you working on right now?
I am. I could show you some stuff.
Yeah.
Just give me a second to pull this up. Yeah, so a couple of years ago, my brother and I put out our first crowdfunder campaign. Sorry, I'm like doing two things at once here.
No, that's cool, man.
And it was a horror anthology called Tricks and Treats, and I just got done doing a second chance campaign for it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Tricks and treats. You're pulling it up? I was gonna pull it up if you are doing
yeah. I'm
that.
pulling. I'll point up the images so you can
Cool.
see the story.
You guys did the whole anthology yourselves?
Yeah, it was me, my brother, and some friends of ours.
Okay. We have to talk offline afterwards because I have an idea for an anthology, but it would involve pulling together like multiple people around the the CG sphere.
Yeah. All right, so this is
Hmm.
it's the first one I worked on,
Yeah, that's good, man.
and this was kind of my take on Land of Dagon or Dagon.
Okay.
Yeah, I called it Land of Dagon. It's kind of a retelling of the story in kind of more modern times, like what would have happened if some people on a cruise ship, ended up on that little island.
Oh, nice.
And so there's this storm that hits the ship, and they go into this vortex. And I go to the next page here, and they end up
Oh,
on some
nice.
rocks, yeah, with the black sun in the background.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they go exploring. They get off the ship. They go exploring, and they find some weird stuff on the ground.
Right.
And there's the pillar
Yeah.
with the drawings on it.
Dude, this is really good. It is. It's definitely following right along with the Dagon's, the story of Dagon.
Yeah, and this is the final shot. This is where it
Yeah.
ends.
Oh, that's great. Dude, the art's great, man. It's definitely better than anything I could do.
Oh, thanks, guy. Yeah, this is like we did floppies at the beginning. We started like back in 2018, and we're just doing like double feature stories. So I did one, then my brother did one,
Okay.
and his story is called Tree of Life, and it's about this scientist who thinks he discovered the Tree of Life, which is going to give the people like immortality. And so he hires these two guys to accompany him in search of it. But like their plane gets shot down, and they're having to walk through the forest, and they get chased by some local people, some tribe, and they get taken by monsters.
Oh, nice. Are they like plant like monsters, or are they just
Yeah, they're like made out of tree, like bark or something.
okay?
Yeah,
The art's really good in this too, man. Is this
yeah.
so? Which one is you and which one's your brother?
So that first story was me. This is my brother.
God, you guys are both really talented, dude.
And so here they drag them in to see the Tree of Life, and then finally get a look of what the Tree of Life is, and it's actually like a bunch of bodies stuck together.
Oh. Oh yeah, that's good.
It's a double page spread. That's there. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's great. Dude, this is good. So, did the anthology just have the two stories in it?
No, it's got 7 stories total. So that's just the first
Okay.
two. I'll just run through the other ones really quick. I don't want to
Yeah.
take up too much time here.
Yeah, I want to. I'm game, man. Show me.
All right. Yeah, this is how that ends. So this next one's called More Than They Can Chew, and it's about these kids in the backwoods of Oklahoma who come across these psycho hillbillies, kind of like Texas Chainsaw Massacre,
Yeah.
But then on top of that, there's these. There's this Sasquatch who comes in to fight against their matriarch, which is this evil thing.
Hmm. Also, very good art. This is a friend of yours?
Yeah, this is Johnny Johnson, and my friend Tommy Brownell did the writing. He's the one I was telling you about that did wrestling for a while or wrote the wrestling
Okay.
storylines. Yeah,
Are
so
these
he
guys
wrote.
all Christians too?
Yeah,
That's cool, man.
and I did the colors on this.
Oh yeah, the colors look really good.
Thanks. Yeah,
Nice Sasquatch.
there's Sasquatch.
I don't know how I didn't hear about this before.
Like I said, I'm nobody. It's like, it's all right.
But
And this is
it's right up my alley. It's something I definitely would have wanted to pick up when you guys were running it.
yeah. So and this is my friend Jason. He did the artwork on the second half of the story. Same story,
Okay.
just different artist. He's Native American, and like the main character on this is a Native American character.
Oh, cool. Yeah, different style, but still very good. I like
Yeah.
the style a lot.
Yeah, and here's the evil lady, and this next panel is like one of my favorite panels.
Oh yeah, dude, that's cosmic horror right there. That's awesome.
Yeah, I love that. This next one's called "The Unknown Incident at Kecksburg," and
Oh, cool.
I wrote it. My brother Justin drew it.
Is this based on the real Kecksburg?
Yeah, this is kind of like my concept of what happened behind the scenes.
Okay.
And what it is that this guy right here, he's this ex-PSYOP operative, and the government is bringing him in to talk to a Sasquatch that they found that came out of the ship.
Okay.
So they come to pick him up. They juice him up with a serum that helps to enhance his abilities. Then he goes to meet the Sasquatch. Good. Yeah, really like that.
Yeah, that's good.
So here's to communicate with him psychically. So he kind of tells them the stories that they were kidnapped by gray aliens. And that's my friend Michael Garrett drawing that.
Okay.
Same story, just different artist, and he comes and reads the mind of the gray alien that they captured as well. And this is where this is kind of the twist of the story. It kind of continues the story where the gray aliens are taking the Bigfoot off another planet.
Oh, okay.
But it turns out that the Bigfoot, so he escapes from his hatch, and he's the one who causes the crash at Kecksburg.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's cool.
So here it is falling out of the sky. There's the crash. And here's kind of the twist. The gray alien actually switches bodies with the Bigfoot because he's dying.
Yeah.
And so here the Bigfoot has escaped, and they shoot it, but it's too late. He switched bodies with the psychic.
Oh, nice.
That's the end of that story. Yeah.
Cool. I like that.
This one is Mulrooney. This is based on Leap Castle. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. It's this castle where it's supposedly haunted by the Baron that lived there. And so in this story, this young woman comes to help her uncle take care of this castle. And he kind of tells her the backstory. Of the evil things that happened there. And that night, she gets visited by some spirits. One of the victims, and then the creature. It's kind of like a ghoul, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the art on this one too. Yeah, all of them have really good art, dude.
Yeah, this is my brother's art again.
Okay.
Yeah, just different technique. It's not the ink wash that he used in that first story.
Yeah.
This is mine. It's a story called Mine, and this one was this was inspired by Long Distance Call, which was an episode of Twilight Zone.
Mm.
I don't know if you're familiar with that episode.
I don't remember. I don't remember it.
It starred Bill Mummy, like his grandmother passes away, and she leaves him like this toy phone, and she still communicates to him through the phone.
Okay.
And so it's kind of the same concept here, only it's this grandfather who passes away, and so the single mother and her son, she kind of fighting for her son's devotion because he and the grandfather were really close. And so after he passes, they go on a little vacation, and she wants to bury the tin can phones that he continues to talk to his grandfather through.
Okay. I like that play on it, man. The tin can phones is a really nice touch.
Yeah. And so yeah, so they bury the phones and go to bed, but then she hears, whispering, and so she comes out, and she thinks it's just a coping mechanism the kid has, but when she like picks up the phone, she hears her father saying he's mine, and she's like, Dad. She gets attacked by this ghost. Yeah. And so the grandfather's taking her son, so she's trying to save him, and then her mother comes and kind of separates the two,
Oh,
kind of
okay.
saving the grandchild.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So finally, he's mine. That's kind of how it ends.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's good. Good ending. I like it.
Yeah. And then this is the last one. This is a short story. This is called Where Dreams Are Born. This is written by my friend Matt Hudson and myself. I did the artwork, and it's a sci-fi story. It's really short, like 7 pages, I think.
Mm.
And it's about this kid who grows up to become an astronaut, and he crash lands on another planet. And while he's out there, he's kind of, I guess, drawn in to like follow this entity. I'll call her an entity. It's not really a woman. And you
Just
see
appears as a woman.
Yeah, just appears as a woman. And here, like the illusion's kind of breaking apart.
Right.
And then you see what it actually was.
Oh, okay. Like an angler.
Yeah, like an anglerfish, basically.
That's cool.
And you'll see like the skeletons down here, like all the people he's eaten in the past.
That's awesome.
Different types of creatures. And then he sends his signal out again to inspire someone else to come to space. And that's it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What was Blood Realm on there for?
Oh, since I kicked off my campaign on Rob's channel.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah. I would just went ahead and put like one of his ads in there.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love that angler. The anglerfish is such a great like seed for a story or a character or a monster. Just because it can be, you can use the concept in all kinds of different ways. Like the one kind of Magnolia-ish looking creature that I drew. It was on the art for this. He's kind of a Dagon type figure, but he's got a crown that kind of lights up, and you see it. It's actually a certain kind of anglerfish has that exact same kind of multi-tentacled light. And what he does, I haven't wrote this into the story yet, but like somewhere down the line, the lure is basically there's like a light that lures sailors to their doom, and they think it's a lighthouse, and it's actually him. He'll come up and be kind of right there at the surface of the water and have that.
That's cool.
And he just kind of strobes it so that it looks like it's coming around, and
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he'll guide sailors to their doom, and he's the god of that they worship in that town. It's kind of an Innsmouth kind of a feel. It's the town is called Port Domer, and but it's on the west coast. It's in Northern California, um, kind of like the town in Goonies, Astoria in Oregon. It's kind of
Yeah.
a town like that, like a little seaside town. But there's so the first episode, the first issue of Days of Noah, kind of quickly ends up in this town where they're just trying to do recon. People are going missing during a certain time of year for a certain festival that they have. And But they go at a different time of year just to kind of do recon, and they end up getting embroiled in this this like cult kind of mystery thing going on, and so he's the god of that. He's kind of the Dagon of that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's fun to take those kind of known stories and just do your own spin on them.
Yeah.
I went a little crazy with the Innsmouth look in my story. It's the Fort Delmer look, but it's like the guy who's on the first page of the comic. I don't know if you saw that, if that was on the art, but the guy is on his knees being restrained, and there's like a fishy monster, tentacle monster behind him.
Yeah. I
That's
remember
kind of
seeing
like
that one. Yeah.
the final phase of the Fort Delmer look before they
Okay.
just kind of go out into the ocean and they're gone forever. But
Yeah.
can't wait to get that book out. I'm really slow on it because I'm just not.
Wait,
I'm not. Yeah, I'm not fast with art yet.
yeah. Well, you just started it though recently, didn't
Yeah,
you? Just like a month ago or so.
yeah. A couple months ago, my goal was to try and get a page. Like the first pages I did were not the first pages of the book. They just went. I did those first to help get me like inspired to actually start doing it, and I did those pretty quickly. The art obviously is nowhere near like what you're going to see in Shinobi Sasquatch, um, but I'm trying to draw quickly, as quickly as I can, and still have it like be attractive enough people want to read it. And
Right.
so I'm drawing on Mignola a little bit here and there, some of the tricks he uses. Uh, Not that he's all tricks, like he's mostly skill, obviously, but like he'll put like there'll be a panel that's just like a gargoyle or an owl or an animal or something. And so I've got like the owl panel that's kind of
Yeah.
Mignola-y. I'm mixing stuff up, but since I've been like actually trying to draw the book, now that I'm trying to draw things I don't usually draw, it's just going very, very slowly.
Yeah.
Drawing a car, for instance, like the truck on the pages you've seen, I got pretty good at drawing that particular truck. But now I'm like drawing Noah hitchhiking, and there's a car pulling up, and so I'm looking at reference, but I'm not. I mean, technically, I'm not. I can draw, but I wouldn't call myself an artist because I haven't been doing it for a long time. I don't feel
Right.
really that I've earned that moniker for myself. Like I'm
Yeah.
I've been writing for a long time, and I've just gotten back into drawing, but I don't really feel like I've earned that title. So, but yeah, I am enjoying it, but it's just slow going.
Yeah. No, it's a rewarding process when it's complete, but it's
Yeah,
definitely a labor.
yeah, yeah. Especially when you have things in life just pulling you in a million directions. You got family, my full time ministry job, and a video game comes out that I want to play.
Yeah.
That takes time away.
Yeah, definitely.
Hey, I love that anthology. That's really cool. Can't
Thanks.
wait to see more from you. And then, what are you working on? Anything new for the
Currently
future?
I'm finishing up the second anthology.
Okay.
Yeah, I should be done. I'm gonna say January, early
Okay.
January, but I'm not gonna release it till next October.
Okay.
And
That's good.
so once that's done, uh, my brother and I already have like this 9-issue miniseries plan that we're gonna start working on, like
Okay.
end of January, early February.
Can you divulge the theme of that, or is you keeping that under wraps for now?
The miniseries, yeah, it's
Yeah.
I'll pull up the character. It's his name's Little Jack, and it takes place in this um, little town called Dutch Hollow, and it's kind of the stand-in for Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah.
and he's gonna fight against the Headless Horseman, and
Cool.
other characters. But so I can find it.
Seems like we're similar. We kind of shy away from the superhero stories.
Yeah, and this is my attempt at a superhero story, but it just happens to mix up with with horror. So
Okay, cool.
there we go. Okay.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so this is Little Jack. he's gonna be
Oh,
our
okay.
he's gonna be our superhero.
Nice. That's good, dude. That's sick. What's the little bat thing?
That's Bruce, and he is a werebat, so he transforms into a werewolf, like part werewolf, part bat.
Okay.
Yeah.
And who's the skull guy?
Skull guy, his name's Joe Tack, and he's a ghost of a detective.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, from like the 1920s, 1930s, somewhere
I
around
was
there.
just gonna say,
Yeah,
dude, 20. He's got to be 20s or 30s. He's got to be like
yeah,
that noir detective, right?
yes, yeah. That's exactly what he's gonna be like.
That's cool, dude. I'm looking forward to this. This is sweet, man. How are you guys gonna put it out?
um, it'll be floppies. We're gonna do
Yeah.
floppies. Yeah.
Are you gonna do like crowdfund, or are you gonna try and get published through somebody?
No, we're gonna do crowdfund.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll probably do like 2 issues at a time.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, I think crowdfunding's great. I don't know about you, but like I always just had this dream of like being published. Like I don't even care if I'm paid well. I just there's just something about like man, if my comic had image on the front, like
Right. Yeah.
nowadays it doesn't mean as much because all image publishes all kinds of crap. But just I don't know. But the other side of me is like, no, you just take control. You do your own thing. You put it out. Just your fans, and hopefully that fan base grows as you do more stuff. But
Right.
yeah, unfortunately, I've so they say that if you can find 1,000 people that believe in what you're doing, you can just do that for a living. Get
That'd be
just 1,000
nice.
people. And like Shinobi Sasquatch got like over 1,500 backers, but
That's insane.
because it's so late, I can't like market to that base. And
Yeah.
it's like if that would have come out even close to on time, like I'd be freaking doing gangbusters right now. Like
Yeah.
Vaughn and I came out around the same time. We both won the graveyard graveyard shift writing competition, and we both wrote for the Graveyard Shift 2 anthology stuff, or not anthology, but prequel books. Um, and then Monster MD and Snowy Sasquatch launched kind of around the same time. And Vaughn's doing great, and I would be too, but we are where we are. I
Yeah.
do have, I guess, kind of the last thing, bit of info I dropped is I do have a page from Chris Graves that he just sent in.
Cool.
So,
Cool. Yeah. You want to
yeah,
share
I
that?
don't. Do I? I think I have it. Yeah, yeah, that's actually a good idea. I don't know why I didn't think about that. I'm gonna letter it. I was gonna do it right when I got it, but I just haven't. I just haven't lettered it yet. As soon as I letter it, I'm gonna drop it in an update. But we can show the unlettered page now. It's gonna be black and white. So this is the page. It's a flashback. So there doesn't need any coloring. Here we go. Doesn't need any coloring or anything, so it just needs me to letter it.
Oh, nice.
And this is so in the existing books so far, we've seen this masked killer guy chasing a girl through the woods,
Yeah.
and then so the flashback kind of tells like a really little brief intro for this masked killer character, because as we were putting those pages out, people are like, "Oh man, who's that killer? He gets killed like." we see him and then he gets killed right away. Like
Mm.
who is he? He seems interesting. I want to know about him. And so I decided to add some of the pages for the stretch goals. To add pages, I decided to add a little backstory for him. And so this is him in Northern California. This is his house, and the feds find him. They close in, and they get into his house, and he's gone. His refrigerator is gone, and they find the meal he left behind. uh, and so yeah, I don't think there's a whole lot of lettering for this page. I think it's just like a caption, and a couple couple narration boxes, and maybe that's it. But yeah, Graves did a great job. I love the
Yeah.
attention to detail on the bottom of the boot. This I know people are already saying this. This reminds me a lot of like Capullo.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It,
Very
it
like,
feels like it's right out of the Spawn book, or the
yeah,
Spawn and
yeah.
Twitch. You know.
Like when you first started picking up Spawn, and it switched from McFarlane to Capullo. Like this is the same feel
Yeah.
that I got then. So I'm really excited to have Chris helping us finish the book. Um, I can only afford to pay him for like one page a month at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's still going to be a long time. But at least we know, like, the backers will start getting a page every single month in the update. So they'll know, okay, it's going to be a while, but at least I can see art coming in.
Right.
And Rob's going to be doing a page every now and then, I think. That's what he said. So we'll see. But I gave him. He asked me, okay, well, if Chris is going to be doing most of the book, like what's a big, like, awesome page that I can do right now? Just like do something cool. So I gave him the script for that page. I said, do this page. He's like, okay, yeah, this is great. And so um, I haven't seen anything from that yet, but hopefully soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just never can tell.
Right.
Never can tell. But with Chris, yeah, I mean, it's when I pay him, he does pages. So so those will be coming out as fast as I can. But I'm paying out of pocket for all of his pages, so it's got to be,
Gotcha.
I can't take food off the table, but I can, deprive myself of a few meals and Starbucks per month to to get a page done. But yeah, so that's where we're at on that.
Well, that's awesome. At least there's movement there.
Yeah, it's gonna be good when it finally comes out. Got Lovecrafty stuff in there too.
Nice. And who's your colorist on that?
Paul Billick. He's in Ukraine. Last I checked, he's doing okay.
Nice.
He's really good.
He is. I remember seeing those pages some time ago, and like his work was beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. He did. It's funny. You have a vision for a project, and it doesn't always come out the way you want, but sometimes it's better than you.
Yeah.
Like I was going to just do Shinobi Sasquatch myself with no iPad, which would have been atrocious. Because the only reason I have the only reason you can look at my drawings now and not be like, that's just awful. Hopefully that's not what people do.
Right.
But is because I have an iPad and I can really cut a lot of corners. But back then, years ago, I was just going to do it myself and put it on Webtoon for free. And it was called Ninja Werewolf Bigfoot Demon Slayer MD. And he used to be a doctor that was canon back then. And I just put one promo image up on Webtoons, and I was getting a lot of people commenting saying, oh, when's this coming out? And I'm like, oh, this is actually an IP people are interested in, so I can't draw it. Obviously, I will not do it justice. And so I found Rob, and he was actually the perfect artist for it. But the original style he was using is way different. Like now he's doing like super detailed, like better than most stuff in 90s Image lineup. Those guys have all grown since then, but like that early stuff, like Rob's right up there with all those guys.
Yeah,
so
he is.
And
yeah.
But that's not the style I was going for originally. Like his style was way more cartoony when I found him. And if I had my old hard drive, I'd show some of that. Show some of that art right now. But just a lot less lines and a lot more cartoony. And that's what I was going for. And so I would have done, like, my vision would have been that Rob's original style with like a Dave Stewart Hellboy coloring
Mm,
style, where it's really minimalist,
right.
no airbrushing, just subtle. Like I don't know if you've ever studied the coloring in Hellboy, but just
Yeah.
very subtle variation in color.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'll get a little bit of fade, but usually it's not. It's just it almost looks like flats. I don't know how he does such a good job.
Right. I've gotten
But
into arguments with people because they're like, it's just flats. I'm like, no, there's more to it than just flats. If you really look close, you'll see other colors mixed in,
yeah,
blended in, but it's so subtle.
it's brilliant, isn't it? You
It
got to
is.
zoom in and really look, but yeah, you'll see. Oh, there's variation there, and it's
Yeah.
very yeah, like you said, it's very subtle. But so that would have been my vision for Shinobi Sasquatch. In fact, I was going to color it originally. I was just going to flat it, um, and then we found Paul, and we were able to fund him coloring it. And so yeah, the airbrush thing, like the whole it's like a '90s image comic, and that's
Yeah.
definitely not what wasn't my vision for.
Yeah.
But I'm glad that's where we landed on it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be phenomenal. But yeah,
Yeah. It looks great.
thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, good stuff. And I'm lettering it now that I've learned how to letter. I'll probably never let anyone letter anything I do. As a writer who is also an artist, I'm sure you can
Yeah.
appreciate getting the last word on the lettering is
Right.
super. Um, Man, like I changed so much on that final. Like you go through your script and you do drafts and you go like I'll do like a final pass, like a final pass. Like okay, everything's good, but I'm just gonna read through it one more time. And then when I get to the lettering, I'm like, nope, there's one
Yeah.
more draft, and it's right
Yeah.
here, and it's in boxes and balloons. And
Yeah.
so I love that, man. I love having that final say. So yeah, I'm lettering the book, writer letter. I love having that. Well, all the words are me.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. So we've gone for an hour and 20 minutes.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's
Time
good, man.
time flies, man.
We got to have you on Breaking Rad, man. Now that we've talked, if you're up for coming on sometime, it'd be
Oh
cool to
yeah,
have you
yeah,
come play our games with us and
yeah.
talk comics. Are you collecting any comics now? Like, do you go to the shop? You
Oh,
pick anything up?
I really don't. I
Yeah.
don't. Kind of like what you mentioned earlier. When I was a kid, like my goal one day was to work for Marvel Comics. Amazing
Mm,
Spider-Man was the book I wanted to work on.
right.
Like I loved ASM, but the way the comic book industry is today, like you guys can just keep your toys. You've ruined them.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to touch them again. Like
Yeah.
I'm happy in my own sandbox making my own stuff.
Yeah.
I've got stuff planned for the next 3 years as far as making comics goes. Like,
Yeah. That's awesome.
I'm good.
That's great. Well, yeah, I would say keep your money. There for me, I found a local shop and I mean it's all creator owned stuff that, like there's a new book by Image called Edenwood that just came out. It's kind of an altered like a or altered reality kind of like I think it's the world we know, but in a few years, like there's like a magical war that starts, and so it's like fantasy, but like there's there's comic books. Like one of the kids is reading a comic book in the issue, and so that was really good. It just came out. Um, there's a Hellboy like a Hellboy giant robot thing that just came out, and so like when I buy stuff, it's either like creator owned stuff that goes out through Image or whatever,
Yeah,
or like the occasional Dark Horse something. Usually Hellboy if there's a Hellboy thing. But that's pretty much it. So like the other guys on the show, you watch Breaking Rad, they like the other
yeah,
guys actually they still buy Marvel. I don't think they buy modern, but they'll buy back issues of modern and or of Marvel and stuff. Um,
yeah.
Hey, is that your brother?
Yeah, that's my brother.
Hey, what's up, Justin? Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Anyway, but you can come on and your brother too. Sometime if you guys want, we can have you pitch. Oh my gosh, it'd be cool to have you participate in top
You
that.
guys go out on those pitches. I don't know if I have the time to to do that. But
Dude,
that's awesome though.
some of the best pitches were written like right before a show. Like Mutt did one a few weeks ago where it was like the hip hop guy who it was hilarious. I'm like, dude, it's not fair that you wrote that right before
Yeah.
we started. And I will spend some weeks I just spend like half an hour on it. But
Yeah.
Some weeks like I'm really into the idea, and I'll like treat it like a real, like I'm pitching to a company, and I'll like really hone that pitch. But most of the time it's just almost phoned in. Like
Right.
people are just having fun. Um, yeah. Anyway,
I
yeah,
enjoy
we gotta have
watching
you
you
on.
guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks, man. Yeah, if you're up for it, I'll talk to the guys. We can get you on sometime.
Yeah. Sure.
Cool.
I'd love to. Um, well, thanks for your time today. I really appreciate it. And sorry about the whole mix up with the time zone.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry about that too, man. Seriously. But thanks for having me on. It was awesome. Definitely just cool getting to know you, and
Yeah. Same here.
just making connections. I like meeting anybody that's into comics and talking, but it's so cool when there's other believers out there that are into the same stuff. And just this kind of like unofficial network is forming outwards from myself, which like like Brandon Hollingsworth, who does Brainy Pixel. He was on our show kind of recently, but he's doing animation for Answers in Genesis and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and so there's him, but then there's like the Rev and Rep podcast guys who had me on their show, and then Ricky Pope, who had me on his show. They're all Christians just doing creative stuff. And
That's cool.
like, man, if we could all like can like really network, and each of us have a small following, and start to try and like build that into something bigger. Because I don't know about you, but like I'm sure you agree, but I think Christians just need more entertainment that is not going to pollute our brains.
Yeah.
That obviously, like I want things to edify. Like I'd love to build up the body of Christ, and I'd love to be a witness to people who don't know Jesus through what I do. But also just people are going to try and be entertained, and if I can
Right.
make something that entertains Christians that doesn't rot their brain at the same time, and affect their soul, man, that's awesome. So, but we
Yes.
got to
Yeah.
find those people, and
Yeah.
so like the more that networking happens, the more that audience can grow, and people can start turning off Disney Plus, and stop buying Marvel and DC comics, and start
Right.
checking out the stuff that's actually going to be good for them, or at least not bad.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Like, not
I keep dragging
necessarily
the show
good,
on,
but
man. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
No, you're fine. No, I really enjoyed talking to you. I'm really glad you
Yeah.
came on.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All right, everybody. We're gonna wrap this up. We'll see you guys next time. Thank you, Cal.
Thank you.